So, boys, I stay tuned. There's a gewaldige podcast. Rabbi Steve Geller does a gewaldige Zach, and that'll be coming out this week. Torah Giants on Chumash. Shalom Uvrach, and welcome to the weekly piece on the Parsha from Torah Giants on Chumash, written by Rabbi Motti Goodman, the Rabbi Emeritus of Far Rockaway. Sit back and enjoy.
Welcome to Torah Giants on Chumash. I'm Steve Geller. This week we have another foundational piece from Rabbi Goodman. And yes, I'm a salesman, and yes, I make generous use of adjectives in sales, but when I say this piece is foundational, I mean it's a concept that is part of the foundation that all Torah stands on. It's a concept that applies to everything you learn and every mitzvah you do. It gives us a clear understanding of the realities of doing what we do, why we do them, and the relationship we build with Hashem. V'nasan titain lo, give to him generously, and don't let your heart begrudge it, for by the merit of this, Hashem will grant you blessings in all your work and all your hands' endeavors. Many commentators write that in every positive mitzvah, there are two positive ramifications. One, the fact that we have acted according to Hashem's will carries tremendous merits to the individual. And two, each mitzvah accomplishes great things in the upper spheres of heaven, which also affect things in this world. Rav Elchanan Wasserman discusses situations where only one of these aspects occurs, leading to a most interesting explanation of an unusual midrash. The first case, a person's running enthusiastically to do a mitzvah, but falls and breaks his leg and is rushed to the doctor. The halacha teaches that if one could not do a mitzvah because of an accident, he still gets credit as if he accomplished it. His reward would be based on the first aspect, acting in according to God's will. However, the fact that it was not done, unfortunately, cannot create the waves in the upper spheres. The second case, according to the opinion that physical mitzvahs do not require intention, if a non-religious Jew happened to eat shmur matzah on Seder night of Pesach, unaware that it was a holiday, he gains the mitzvah. In this case, his credit is due not because he acted according to God's will, for he was totally unaware of the mitzvah, but the act itself can make waves in heavens with other mitzvahs. The Dubna Maggid explains the expression in the pasuk about not feeling pain in one's heart with, as usual, a parable. A man loses his wallet in the street containing $1,000 and it's not found. A week later, he finds a wallet containing $2,000 and no one claims it. Although he's officially permitted to keep it, his joy is not complete, for had he not lost his own wallet, he would now have $3,000. In another example in the parable, a farmer pulls a sack of wheat to his home, but he's unaware that it is leaking grain. When he arrives at home, he finds a fraction of the wheat still in the bag, with the rest spread all over the field. A few weeks later, he discovers that all of that grain took root in the ground, and eventually he derives a huge, abundant harvest from that scattered grain. His happiness is, of course, complete. Our verse states that we should feel no regret about giving gifts to the poor, since Hashem rewards us very generously for our mitzvah, and we are like the farmer whose temporary loss is made up for with that great abundance that he gains later. We're now very fortunate to have the brilliant associate rabbi of Kneseth Yisroel, the White Shul in Far Rockaway, to plug this foundational concept into another famous episode in the Torah that we're all familiar with.
There's a very, very big problem with the Gemara in Meseches Soita. And I believe that this concept of Rabbi Elchanan is the key to answering this Gemara in Meseches Soita. Gemara tells us, a well-known Gemara, we just learned about it a few weeks ago in the Parsha. Moshe Rabbeinu really wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael. Ve'ez Chanan, he davens the Rabbanu Shalom over 500 tefillas to go into Eretz Yisrael. Says the Gemara Meseches Soita, why is it that he wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael? V'chilechol mipirya? Moshe Rabbeinu wanted the fruit of Eretz Yisrael? Of course not. Says the Gemara, you know why he wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael? Harbe mitzvos tluyim ba'aretz. There are many mitzvahs that are tluyim b'Eretz Yisrael. Va'ani roitze lekaimam. I want to be mikayim. But then the Gemara says something very interesting. Moshe Rabbeinu adds on va'ani roitze lekaimam umikabel schoran. And to be mikabel the schar. Asks the Maharsha, Moshe Rabbeinu was doing mitzvahs to be mikabel schar? Hayitachin, doesn't the Mishnah tell us in Meseches Avos, Al tehi ka'avodim ha'mishamish esarav al-manas l'kabel pras. Don't be like an Eved who's serving his master on manas condition to receive reward. So how could Moshe Rabbeinu come here and tell us that he wants to go into Eretz Yisrael to do the mitzvahs, u'lekabel scharan, and to be mekabel the schar? That's the antithesis of the reason why we do mitzvahs. The Maharsha is very, very bothered by this question. But I believe that the answer to this question lies in this concept, this fundamental concept of Rabbi Chanan gives us. There's two layers of reward. There's a layer of reward from the fact that I asked you to do something, I'm going to reward you. But then there's an aspect of reward which is inherent to that act. A person goes and works out. His reward for working out is that now he's very strong. It's the natural result of that which he did. A mitzvah is our spiritual workout. The reward is the place that our neshama is in the aftermath of the mitzvah. It's the inherent result that it had on my neshama and the entire world, and bringing my neshama closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That inherent aspect that Rabbi Chanan is describing, the reward, the real reward of the mitzvah, is inherent to that Maaseh mitzvah. The reward is the fact that I did the mitzvah itself. But the real reward, the inherent reward that has an impact on my neshama, that comes from the second aspect of the mitzvah. When Chazal tell us that we are not allowed to do mitzvahs in order to receive reward, they don't use the language of schar. What do they say? Al tehi ke'eved hamishamish es rabu al menas lekabel pras. A pras is not the inherent reward. That's how Chazal refer to schar. The pras is the reward that God gives us, secondary reward, for the first aspect of the mitzvah, for just listening to Him. That you're not allowed to do the mitzvah in order to receive that reward. But in order to receive the reward which is inherent, which is the result of my neshama doing a mitzvah which brings me closer to God, of course that's why we do mitzvahs. The reward there is the closeness to God that I've achieved. The impact that I had on my neshama, on the world at large, of course I'm allowed to do a mitzvah for that reason. That is why we do mitzvahs. So comes Moshe Rabbeinu based on these two ideas that we've expressed, and Moshe Rabbeinu says, you know why I want to go into Eretz Yisrael? Because every mitzvah that I've done so far has had only one aspect to it. Only because I've been outside Eretz Yisrael has only had the aspect that I'm following God's will. But I want the inherent reward. What's the inherent reward? That my neshama will be closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's only in Eretz Yisrael. Harbe mitzvahs tluyim be'aretz. There are many mitzvahs which are totally could only be accomplished in Eretz Yisrael. And he writes to the Kabbalah Schairim, and my neshama wants to receive that closeness, that impact, that second aspect that Rabbi Chanan describes. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu was yearning for. As we've mentioned, this Rabbi Chanan opens up worlds to us. There's hardly a Gemara, there's hardly a mitzvah, there's hardly an aspect of the Torah which isn't impacted by this novel, brilliant idea from Rabbi Chanan. This is just scratching the surface, the tip of the iceberg in terms of the depth that Rabbi Chanan is trying to reveal to all of us.
Keeping this concept of the two aspects of doing mitzvahs in mind will greatly enhance our kavanas and enthusiasm in everything we do. Don't miss this opportunity to benefit from the reality of what observant Jews do every day. And one of those things that we can do to marshal all of these forces is to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and most importantly, share this video with friends and family. They will appreciate it, and actually performing this act of Talmud Torah will create those waves in Shemayim that you and all of Klal Yisrael will benefit from.